All right, Ms. McNeil, you may continue.
But I'll wait till we have a break, please.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to wait till we have a break, please.
To when we're not in recess to make an objection?
Objection.
When we're in recess to make an objection?
I can do it now, Judge. With all due respect to the victims' families and their proceedings in Marcy's law, the defense team in this case followed and maintained their constitutional duty, the Sixth Amendment right to provide effective representation to Mr. Cruz. This is a constitutional right that is afforded to every criminal defendant in this system.
Doesn't matter.
The court is aware,
They're getting mad.
and so is the state, of Marcy's law and the
They're mad
victims' rights that are
the
afforded
people,
in the United
the
States
victims
Constitution and the
of
Lower
this
Florida
are
Constitution.
calling out the
That
lawyers.
does not include personally attacking defense counsel and our children. The defense reached out to the state, Mrs. McCann specifically, in anticipation that something like this might happen. I understand that the victims' families are entitled to feel however they want to feel and are allowed to say whatever it is that they want to say. But in the court of law, it is the court's responsibility to maintain the administration of justice. And you know the parameters of a sentencing hearing. The state knows the parameters of a sentencing hearing. I have spoken in email to Mrs. McCann. Mr. Weeks has spoken to the chief judge, too. And we have also spoken to
They're
Mr.
honestly
Pryor
mad
in an effort
because
to
people
prevent
are
this from
calling out
happening.
the defense.
I did my job, and every member of this team did their job, Judge. And we should not personally be attacked for that, nor should our children. And I'm asking this court, as the administrator of justice, please ask the victims' families, like I asked the state attorney's office to do. They know that this is improper. They know this. They know that attacking defense
Leave a
counsel,
comment if you know if
attacking
these
the
are public
judicial
defenders
system,
or if
and
this is a
attacking the
hired team of
jurors
lawyers. I don't
is
know.
not
I thought he had
permissible.
public
And it
defenders, but I
sends
don't
a
know.
message to this community that if you sit as a juror and the verdict you're not in agreement with, that you will be chastised and you will be degraded. Our system of justice is designed the way that it was administered in this courtroom. If he would have gotten death, we would not have said one single word about that, and we would have respected the jury's verdict. This is our system of government, Judge, and Your Honor should be maintaining the decorum in this courtroom to prevent these families from attacking our children and from attacking us personally when we were appointed on this case.
Oh, okay,
Judge.
your objection is noted. State, do you want to...
Your Honor, before we call our next witness, I would like to put something on the record, if I may be allowed, Your Honor.
Okay.
And it is important. The defendant, has taken the lives of these people's family members, their children, their husbands, their sons. And now the defense attorneys want to take the voice of the survivors, the victims, and curtail their rights under Florida law, specifically 941.143, the Florida Constitution, Section 16B, Article 1, which gives victims a right, Your Honor, to express themselves and be heard. They're also trying to curtail the victim's rights to speak under Chapter 960. And Ms. McNeil is right. She did reach out to me, and she did ask that we ask the victims not to speak
I'm going to tell you,
about
if it was me,
the verdict, about
I'd
the
probably
case.
been held in contempt
But
because I wouldn't
under
have been able to control myself.
941.143, each and every one of these victims here today was apprised under the law by our office, which we had a duty to do, that statements, whether oral or written, shall relate to the facts of the case and the extent of any harm, including social, psychological, or physical harm, financial losses, loss of earnings directly or indirectly from the crime for which the defendant is being sentenced, and any matter relevant to an appropriate disposition and sentence. What these victims are here to talk about today, Your Honor, is an appropriate disposition and sentence. The defense cannot try and impose prior restraint on these victims who have every right to be here and exercise their freedom of speech under the First Amendment, under the Florida Constitution, and under Florida law, Chapter 943 and Chapter 960.
Injured.
And these victims have every right to express themselves. They were muzzled, they were curtailed under victim impact because they knew the instructions and they followed them to a T. And the defense knows that the state worked with the defense to make sure that everything on victim impact was admissible. There are no objections, and the record will bear that out. And Ms. McNeil knows that she and I met to make sure that victim impact was absolutely perfect under the law. And these victims now have a chance and a right to come in here and say what they're allowed to say and what they're legally allowed to say. What the defense is doing is illegal to try and curtail these victims' rights under the law, and it's unconscionable.
I agree.
These victims have a right to express themselves. I have not gone over what their statements are because under the law, under Chapter 960, they don't have to tell me what they're going to say. They can ask me if they need guidance, and I will provide it to them. But they have a right to address this court.
Yes, they do.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Through the whole trial, none of this happened.
Your next witness.
I just need to say that the defense is not attempting to curtail the limits of the sentencing proceeding or the rights that the victims' families have. We are not trying to do that. But the state attorney's office knows that what is happening here is beyond what the victims' families are constitutionally protected to do. You can say whatever you want to Mr. Cruz. You can attack him and say whatever you want. But Your Honor knows that what is happening here is not permissible.
Ms. McNeil, stop suggesting that I know that something is impermissible and that I am allowing it to happen. You're finished? I've heard your objection. It's noted. State, go ahead and call Ms. Ramsey.
Ms. Ann Ramsey, please.